Have you ever looked at a massive skyscraper and just wondered, how? How does something that complex get built safely? Or how does a company make thousands of products that are all perfect every single time? Well, it's not magic, that's for sure. It's all about having a framework for excellence. Today, we're diving into the international standards that are basically the blueprint for getting it right. Let's get started.
Just take a look at this. Our modern world, our cities, our industries, they are incredibly complex systems, right? So how in the world do we make sure that everything we build and everything we do is not only effective, but also safe for people and sustainable for the planet? The answer to that huge question lies in a concept called operational excellence.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by building 3 foundational pillars. First, protecting people, then perfecting our processes, and finally, preserving the planet. After that, we'll see how learning from our mistakes is kind of like the mortar that holds it all together, which is how you ultimately build a real culture of excellence. But before we can build any of those pillars, we need a really solid foundation. And in this world, that foundation is something called the hierarchy of controls. It's a simple, but honestly a super powerful idea that kind of flips our usual thinking on its head. Instead of starting with the easiest fix, like just handing out protective gear, it forces us to ask a better question first. Can we get rid of the hazard completely? That way of thinking, that proactive mindset, is the bedrock for everything else we're about to talk about. All right, with that foundation in place, we can raise our very first pillar. And it makes sense to start with the most important element of all, people. This is the safety pillar, and it's guided by the global standard ISO 45001, which is all about protecting everyone's health and safety when they're at work. So what is it exactly? Well, you can think of ISO 45001 as a global framework that any organization, big or small, can use to create a safe and healthy workplace. And it's not just about a bunch of rules, it's about building a living system that proactively spots hazards and controls risks before anyone has a chance to get hurt. Okay, so how does this actually work in the real world? Let's take a busy construction site. As you can imagine, falls from high places are one of the biggest, most serious risks. So here, we're looking at a firm that decided to tackle this problem head-on by focusing on making their fall protection culture absolutely world-class. And the results? It's just so powerful. A worker slipped, but their harness saved them. Now that wasn't luck. Not at all. It was the direct result of rigorous daily inspections and non-stop training. It just goes to show you that these standards aren't just dusty documents on a shelf. They are genuinely life-saving tools when you actually put them into practice. All right, our first pillar is standing strong. Now let's move on to the second one, quality. This is all about consistency. It's about making sure that whether you're creating a product or you're delivering a service, it hits the mark every single time. So welcome to the world of ISO 9001. So ISO 9001 gives organizations a systematic way to manage their quality. It's built on this really simple but brilliant idea called the plan, do, check, act cycle. You plan what you're going to do, then you do it, then you check to see if it actually worked the way you wanted, and then you act to make it even better next time. It's just this constant loop of getting better and better. Now think about this really common problem. There was a contractor in Abu Dhabi who was just bleeding money because of rework. Simple mistakes were forcing them to redo jobs, which wasted a ton of time and a ton of materials. So the question is, how do you break that expensive cycle? Well, you do it with a system by putting in a clear quality control plan just for their concrete work. All based on ISO 9001 principles, they slash that costly rework by a staggering 40%. Just think about that for a second. That is a massive saving in both time and money, and they got it all just by focusing on getting it right the first time. Okay, on to our third and final pillar. This is the one that really connects the work we do to the world around us. This is the environmental pillar, and it's guided by the international standard ISO 14001, which is all about being a responsible steward of our planet. Basically, ISO 14001 gives companies a roadmap to manage their environmental footprint. It helps them track and control everything, from waste and water use to air quality and fuel consumption, all while making sure they're following the law. This isn't just about avoiding fines, though. It's about building a business that's sustainable and has a great reputation. Let me give you an example. A contractor in Dubai kept getting hit with fines because of dust pollution. This was a huge problem for public health and, of course, for their bottom line. It was really hurting their reputation and their finances. And get this, the solution wasn't some high-tech, complicated thing. By just systematically applying really simple, effective controls, like using water sprays to keep dust down and making sure all their trucks were covered, they completely eliminated the problem. And the result? Zero fines. Good for the environment and great for business. It's a win-win.
Okay, so we have our 3 pillars standing tall: safety, quality, and environment. But how do we make sure they stay strong? And more than that, how do they keep getting better? Well, that's where we close the loop with incident investigation and risk management.
Let's be real for a second. No system is ever going to be perfect. Things will go wrong. It's inevitable. But the crucial part is what you do next. A structured, blame-free investigation isn't about pointing fingers. No. It's a powerful learning opportunity that feeds improvements right back into all 3 of our pillars. And the process is super clear and logical. First, you secure the area to make sure nobody else gets hurt. Then you collect all the information: what happened, who saw what were the conditions. Next, you analyze all that data to find the real root cause, not just the obvious surface-level stuff. And finally, you apply what's called CAPA: corrective actions to fix the immediate problem and preventive actions to make damn sure it never ever happens again. Now, this is where the real magic happens. We're looking here at a near miss. So nobody got hurt, nothing was damaged, but it was a really close call. The best organizations out there, they treat these moments with the exact same seriousness as a major accident. And why is that? Because a near miss is basically a free lesson in how to prevent a future disaster. And just look at the value this created. The investigation found there were some serious communication gaps, and some key equipment was missing. So instead of just telling people to be more careful, they actually fixed the system itself. They brought in a clearer lifting plan and beefed up the operator training. Now that's how you make a lasting change. So let's just take a step back and look at the whole picture. This complete structure we've just built. We have our 3 strong pillars standing on a solid foundation, and it's all held together and strengthened by this continuous loop of improvement. So, if we boil it all down, what have we got? ISO 45001 saves lives with systems that prevent accidents. ISO 9001 guarantees quality, which keeps customers and regulators happy. ISO 14001 protects our planet for the future. And that investigation process, well, that's the engine that just keeps the entire system getting better and better, day after day. You know, at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. These standards, these pillars, they aren't just binders full of rules sitting on a shelf or some certificate you hang on the wall. Operational excellence is a living, breathing culture. It's about a whole team of people, all committed to doing things the right way, every single day. So this brings the question right back to you. Because these principles aren't just for huge construction sites or giant factories. They're universal. How can you bring a little more safety, a little more quality, and a little more environmental care into your own work or even your studies? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks so much for digging into this with me today.